Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I want to share with you how you can break free from societal programming, from the conditioning, from the collective consciousness, any limitation that has been placed upon you from the external world, from society that doesn't serve you. I also want to speak a little bit about childhood programming, so you get a little bit bonus there. And today is a great day to share this because today is the 8th of the 8th. It's the Lion Gates portal. So you may already be feeling these new energies coming in, like a start of a new chapter, a fresh start. You get a new start. So with this awareness of how you can break free from old patterns, old limiting beliefs, beliefs that have been installed in you that aren't even yours, it's such a powerful combination that allows you to start to create a new world for yourself, a new reality for yourself. So I want you to really embrace this video as you being able to start fresh. Like if you could start everything all over again, what would you do? So diving into societal programming and the collective consciousness, for those of you who are new to collective consciousness and what that is and the kind of belief systems that we pick up from the collective consciousness, just to give you a little deeper understanding of that. By the way, I live in Bali, so there are wind in the trees and noise around. That's how it is here. But we let go of perfectionism, right? So, collective consciousness. You have your own individual consciousness, so your own internal thoughts, your own beliefs, your own feelings, your own energy system, your own frequency that you create yourself. And then we have a collective consciousness. And there are many collective consciousnesses. You have a collective consciousness within your family system, you have a collective consciousness within your group of friends, you have a collective consciousness within the town that you live, there's a collective consciousness in the country, and so on and so on, and there's a global collective consciousness as well. So there's many collective consciousnesses that we all are influenced by. So I'm going to be speaking mostly about the biggest one, but also everything in between. So you get it all. So how we're influenced by the collective consciousness is once we're born, we are like blank slates. We do have genetic history and genetic ancestral patterns, which is a totally different topic. But when you are born, you start fresh. You have this veil of forgetfulness and you learn everything all over again. So when your parents say, this is pink, this is blue, this is yellow, you take that on as truth. Likewise, when your parents say you are very smart, you are beautiful, you take that on as truth. So those are positive statements. And also when you hear if your parents say to you, you're dumb, you're stupid, be quiet, limiting statements, you also take that on as truth. So those are the childhood programming that you pick up on. Anything that your parents model in front of you, anything that your parents say to you, you take that on as truth and you internalize that. And then when you step out to society and you step out into the world, then we pick up on societal programming. And the main topics in societal programming is how you're supposed to show up in your purchasing behavior, how your relationship with money is supposed to be, what you're supposed to do with your life, and also how you're supposed to behave in relationships. Now, there's many other ones that we are influenced by, but those are some of the big ones. So again, we take these things on as truth because we have learned to trust the government, trust all the systems that we're in, and we take their guidance on as truth. So we follow this collective programming. And it's not that all of it is bad, but a lot of it is very limiting and serves only a small number of people in the world. So we take on our relationship with money, from our parents, of course, as well. But with the collective programming, there's a lot of programming around that you have to work really hard for money, that you have to, go through blood, sweat, and tears in order to make money, that you have to work a certain hours in the day to make money, that you have to provide a certain amount of value, who defines that, in order to make money. And there's all of these rules around the monetary system that we adopt. So we internalize those beliefs and take on that I have to do X, Y, Z, I have to work really hard, I have to suffer for money, or else I'm not worthy of it. And that creates an extremely limiting program and template to operate from because it's based on guilt and shame. Because that says, if you don't work really hard, if you don't suffer, if you don't prove your worth through effort, then you're not worthy of money. So then if you do receive any money without that effort, you feel guilty. Or if you aren't putting in hard work, or if you aren't suffering in some way, then you aren't worthy of that money. So it creates this trap for us. And we really need to let go of that, because number one, money is simply just created. There's no limitation of abundance in life. The banks literally type in new numbers into bank accounts and print out new money all the time. So we have zero obligation to follow these rules, and we have zero obligation to feel like there is a limitation of money, that there is a limit, that you have to suffer for it. But those things are all just made up. And it's all just made up in order to make you a good worker, a good chip, in society, so that you can serve someone else other than yourself. So, that's a big, broad, general statement. And I'm not saying that's the case for most people. It's not the case for everyone, but it is the case for a lot of people. And that's when people feel stuck. That's when people feel limited. That's when people feel like, oh, I can't create the life that I want to create, because we've subscribed to these rules and we've subscribed to these belief systems that aren't really ours. So just bringing awareness to that to begin with is a start of liberation, is a start of freeing yourself from feeling like you have to operate in that way. You don't have to operate like that at all. And then once you start to realize that, then the underlying fears come up. Well, then what do I do? Oh, well, then what do I do for money? So it's a step-by-step process of deconditioning all of those fears, deconditioning all of those belief systems that weren't really yours. If you could sit down and you could decide a monetary system, or you could decide for yourself what kind of relationship you want to have with money, what would that be like? If you really tap into your heart and you tap into what abundance feels like to you, how you tap into what you would want to do in exchange for money, because money is just an exchange system. It's still a value-based system. So what would you want to do? What feels right for you? And this is when more underlying fears start to come up, when people are asked this question, because then the limiting beliefs pop up. Because maybe when you tap into that, you say, for example, that you want to paint and you just want to spend all day painting. Maybe that's what you want to do. And then you have underlying beliefs popping up. Well, oh, my paintings won't be good enough for people, or I can't charge a lot for paintings. It's just paintings. And who gets to decide the value of that? Well, there are some people who charge hardly anything for paintings, and there are some people who charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for paintings. It's all based on perception. So why can you not paint and make a living off of that? This is just an example, and it's the same for whatever is your heart's passion. Because whatever you feel like is right for you in your heart, and I'm emphasizing the heart for a reason, which I'll explain a little later, is a part of your soul blueprint. So you following your soul's blueprint is also a part of you getting rid of those limitations, getting rid of those limiting beliefs of what you should and should not do. Because you are really here to create your own path, to create your own destiny, to create your own reality. You're really, truly, it's an illusion that you're not in control, because you are actually in control all the time. But we believe that we're not. And then that becomes our reality, because 95% of our reality is created by our subconscious beliefs. And I find it interesting that we're not taught this in school. We're not taught this as children. We're not even taught it much as adults. We have to look out for that information ourselves and figure out how all of that works and how reality works. So if reality, 95% of it, I just want to emphasize that, because sometimes it goes in here and out there, 95% is created by your subconscious beliefs, then that is the fastest way and the easiest way and the most efficient way to change your reality. So we're not taught in school how to access the subconscious, first of all, and there's specific techniques and ways to do that. That involves your own awareness, your own ability to go within. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to change that belief now. You have to be in a certain state. You can't do it just on the mental plane. We can have a conscious thought, but you need to be able to access the subconscious in a particular way, because most of us we're not taught how to access the subconscious. And since it's subconscious, most of us aren't even aware of which limiting beliefs that we have. And that's why it's so the whole system is almost like genius, you know? Avoid having people realizing and knowing that they have the power to create their own reality by just avoiding teaching them about the subconscious. You know, give them and feed them information that they will take on as truth, and then will become great puppets. So we're not going to go into conspiracy theories or anything like that, or the whole sort of dark side of who rules the world and everything. But just with that simple awareness, you can start to take your power back. You can start to be a deliberate creator of your life, because you really can. You really, really can. Because at the end of the day, everything is just energy and everything is frequency. So once you start to be able to go within and operate within your own self awareness, your own subconscious, your own frequency, start to learn how to distinguish between different frequencies and how they feel within you, then you can actually start to have a direct impact on your reality and start to manifest things in an incredibly fast and effective way. So that's the societal programming. I did mention a little bit about childhood programming, and I want to mention a little bit more about that as well, because one thing that I'm very passionate about is healing shame. Shame is one of the lowest frequencies that we can be in, and it's fear-based, and it's it's horrible. You probably know the feeling of shame. And what happens as well is that most of us have like silent internalized shame on some level, whether you're ashamed about your body, whether you're ashamed about who you are, what you do, how you show up in the world. Everyone has something that they're ashamed of. But shame thrives in silence. So it's rare that we, just speak freely about everything that we're ashamed of, because we're also conditioned to be perfect in this reality. If you're not perfect in your business, if you're not perfect in your looks, if you're not perfect in whatever it is that you are going into, then you are a failure, then you're not good enough, all of that nonsense. So it's very common that a lot of people live with internalized shame, and it's just accepted. It's just normalized, and it doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to be ashamed of who you are. You don't have to be ashamed of your body. You don't have to be ashamed of your abilities and your skills and how you show up at work and business and your service. But most of us just do. And it creates this massive limitation of how you can tap into the full potential of who you really are, your full expression, really switching on all of your abilities and skills and gifts, and really have you, leave a stamp on this world. So that's what happens with shame. And when that comes from childhood, it can happen in the most subtle ways. All of us have childhood trauma in some way or another. And this is not about blaming parents. Most parents do their best to their best ability. And most parents have their own trauma. Most parents have their own conditioning that they need to be released from. So it's not about blaming, but it is about becoming aware of, wow, when I was a child, maybe my mom wasn't there for me all the time, or maybe my dad wasn't there for me all the time. And shame can show up. Oh, first of all, let's get clear on what shame really is and how it forms a belief. So shame is the internalized belief that on a fundamental level, we are flawed, unworthy, and unlovable. And if you have that in place, and that is a belief system that you have within you, that is going to affect every single area of your life, and that's going to limit you drastically. And then the sad thing about shame is that we just hide that and live with it for however long on the rest of our lives, and do nothing about it because we hold shame silent. So that is the biggest limiting factor, is shame. So if your parents, told you to be silent, or if your parents weren't there for you when you were a child, and it can even be small, subtle moments. Let's say you were a baby and you were screaming for food and you were left too long, then it can start to feel, if that happens repeatedly, then on a subconscious level, you will pick up that my needs are not worthy to be met. I am unworthy, I am unlovable. Or let's say you had a father who was physically there, but he was very tired from work and he needed to rest, and maybe he had a hard time communicating that to you with loving care and compassion to reassure you. So he just wanted to shut out and sit in the room and be by himself. Over time, as a child who doesn't understand the bigger picture, doesn't understand what it's like to be an adult man who has a lot of responsibilities and needs time to rest, the child will internalize that as I'm unworthy of my father's love. I'm unworthy of love and attention. I am flawed. I am unlovable. I am unworthy. So it's these subtle ways that childhood programming can come into place. And then when we bring that up into our adult lives, then if you have fundamental beliefs of I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, I am flawed, how are you going to show up in your relationships? How are you going to show up at work? How are you going to show up in society? How are you really going to fulfill your soul mission if you have that in place? Because that's just going to continue to limit you. And that's why a lot of people have a hard time breaking free from that, because 95% of our reality is created by our beliefs, and most people aren't able to actually remove them and replace them and heal that from their experiences. So what I want you to do is begin to reflect on your childhood, begin to reflect on who were your role models growing up, begin to reflect on society, and start to really feel in your heart what feels right to me, which experiences felt good that I picked up on good programming from my parents. Your parents also give you good programming. Maybe they're really supportive. Maybe they're supported you in your growth. Maybe they, gave you a lot of experiences that are amazing for you. And then also evaluate, what did they say to me that made me feel small and unworthy? What did I experience as a child that made me sort of shrink in my energy and made me feel like I can't do certain things? Just start to reflect on that, and with the awareness that whatever belief system that installed is not true. You don't have to take anything on as true. You can create for yourself what is true for you. And then begin to reflect on society. What have we got going on in society? It's a very materialistic, over-consuming society that benefits the few at the disadvantage of many. So again, this is not about blaming, because whenever you blame and shame, you just give your power away. But it's about becoming aware. What do you want to subscribe to? Who do you want to give your money to? What kind of companies do you want to support? What is your real opinion of the monetary system? What is your real opinion of how you're supposed to show up in the world? And then it's not about, totally signing out and closing all of your bank accounts. It's about becoming more aware and mindful of, you actually don't have to be subscribed to all of that. You can start to shift the way that you view money and the way that you view society around. And what you will notice is that you'll start to kind of like close a lot of tabs, and you will start to change a lot of your habits with that awareness. Because what you're doing then is getting in touch with your core values. So a lot of us are conditioned to, need to buy certain brands, need to buy certain, whatever it is for you, in order to get status, in order to get approval, in order to feel better about ourselves. And these are fleeting things that go away, and then you have to buy more in order to feel happy again. So this is forever chasing happiness trap. So then as you're reflecting on this, maybe you will start to realize that, wow, maybe there's some things that you are putting money into that you notice over time it doesn't actually bring you that much happiness, doesn't actually bring you that much value, and is not in alignment with your core values. So you can start to make this assessment of what really matters to you, what is really important to you, what kind of life do you actually want to live and create through the heart. And what most of us realize is that what matters to us is connection, it's friends, it's family, it's being of service to others in the biggest and best way we can possibly be. And then everything else is secondary. Everything else is bonuses. And also when you start to tap into that, you also start to tap into the natural abundance flow. Because when you really tap into your heart's passion, your soul mission, what you came to this planet to do and be and experience, then that can start to flow through you. And when you're not limited by your programming from childhood, when you're not limited from the programming from society, you get to express that, you get to be that, you get to, live it. Then you have energy flow. If you are giving from your heart, and you're of service from your heart, and you are showing up from your heart, and you are in alignment with your true values, you are in flow. And this is how abundance works as well. It's a giving and receiving. It's a giving and receiving. It's a giving and receiving. And we can tap into that natural flow of abundance when you really tap into your heart's passion, when you really tap into your soul blueprint, when you really tap into your core values, when you really tap into what is important for you, and you have full permission to be selfish. It's not really selfish, because when you serve that within yourself, you're actually serving the world. So I would say that that's selfless. It's like, what's the difference? And then you start to tap into the natural abundance flow. And we see this with certain people who are, when someone has really found their true essence passion. And it doesn't mean that you have to want to become some famous rock star, or you have to become some, massive status thing. It's just tapping into your true passion. It could be anything. Maybe it's collecting stamps. It's whatever is right for you. You know it in your soul's heart. So just start to tap into that. And that's when you tap into the abundance flow. Because when you tap into that, you will naturally want to give it. Because that is your gift to the world. And what do we want to do with gifts? We want to give them. So your presence is the present. So you will naturally start to want to give that to the world, to the people around you, and share it, because it feels amazing. It feels great to tap into our true desires and what we want to share with the world. We just want to give it naturally. And when you start to give that naturally, the appreciation you have for your gift, for who you are, for, your soul's mission, that frequency will start to reflect back to you. Because then you're operating from a totally different place. You're not operating from shame. You're not operating from guilt. You're not operating from societal's programming. You are operating from your own frequency, from what you want to do. You're making your own decisions. And that creates such a powerful ripple effect into the collective. That frequency is one of the strongest frequencies that we can tap into. So like I mentioned, we see this in other people who have really tapped into it's really their heart, their heart's passion, their heart's consciousness. They have fully activated that, because what do? They love what they do, no matter what it is that they're doing. And it's that love in what they're doing that reflects back the love that they receive. So start to not care about society. Don't care about how you're supposed to earn money. Don't care about, all of the expectations from society. Stop caring about how it is that you should look. Stop caring about how it is. All of that. You make your own decisions. What do I want to do? What do I want to charge? What is my true value? Which is priceless, by the way. There's no limit to that. And make your own decisions. And the way that you can follow that is follow your own guidance system. Follow your own emotion. How does that feel to you? And when you start to do this process, you will experience that limiting beliefs will pop up to the surface, because that will allow for them to come up into your field. So you will feel some limitation, and that's where subconscious reprogramming comes into place, where we can access the subconscious. There are tools and techniques to be able to do that, which I teach in the Power Method. And then we can start to deprogram that. Deprogram and decondition yourself from the old society, from your past, and you can start new and recreate a reality that you want for yourself, because it's possible. A lot of times we feel like these things are impossible. Oh, it's impossible to move. It's impossible to start a new business. It's impossible to do these shifts, because we get really conditioned to stay in very tight boxes that you cannot leave. And if you do want to leave them, there's a massive amount of unsafety and uncertainty on the other side. So, and that's another illusion, that you're unsafe if you want to change. You're unsafe if you want to shift. There's always safety on the other side. But it can feel a little bit of uncomfortable to go into that expansion, because outside of your comfort zone is where all the growth is. But that means you have to go outside of your comfort zone. But you want to do that on a soul level. So this is my little spiel about societal programming, about subconscious reprogramming, that this is a new fresh start for you. Start to practice all of these things, become aware of, who am I? Why am I the way that I am? Why do I have the thoughts that I have? Why do I feel the way that I feel about myself, and where does that come from? So start to reflect on that. And that will be a really good, starting point for you to start to be able to shift and be deliberate in your choice, because it's in your choice that you have power. You can always choose. So if you do feel the calling to go deeper and you do want further support with this, you can always visit my website. I have free quizzes for you to get clear on where you might have some subconscious beliefs. You can always book a free call. I am here to support you. And if anything, I just want you to have a beautiful fresh start after this Lionsgate portal. Start to reinvent your new future, tap into your full potential, and I will see you in the next video.